Hello guys, welcome to one more video and thank you so much for watching. As most of you know, my native language is Serbian, which is not one of the most spoken or most popular languages out there, and I feel that most of the people don't know much about Serbian language. That's why I decided to dedicate my today's video to my native language. I want to share with you guys few fun facts about Serbian language that you probably didn't know, and I feel you should know them. So let's start. Something that you probably know is that Serbian belongs to Slavic languages, to be precise, South Slavic languages together with Bulgarian and Macedonian, for example. Serbian is spoken in the Balkans or in Serbia and surrounding countries with big Serbian population. These are some things that you did know already, and you probably know that these countries here are pretty small, so population that speaks Serbian is small as well. But thanks to or because of horrible economic situation that has been going on in the Balkans since forever, there are a lot of Serbian native speakers living abroad, in every part of the world, I would say. There are big Serbian communities in almost every European country, mostly in Germany and Austria. There is a big Serbian community in the US as well. And believe it or not, the city with the biggest Serbian population outside of the Balkans is Chicago. So in Chicago, if you go there, you will probably meet a lot of people who speak Serbian as their native language. I was looking for exact information on how many native Serbian speakers there are in the world, and it was pretty hard to find the exact number because I have found several sources that claim completely different numbers. So according to most of them, the population of native speakers in the Balkans is around 8 million, but considering that there are a lot of Serbians living abroad, in total there are around 12 million native Serbian speakers in the world. Now, this is very hard to confirm because we don't know how well those Serbs living abroad who were born abroad speak Serbian, but let's say that there are 12 million Serbian native speakers, which compared to some other languages is really small number, but as I said, they are everywhere, so wherever you go, you are very likely to meet someone who speaks Serbian as their native language. The most common question I get from people when I tell them that my native language is Serbian is whether I understand Croatians and Bosnians, because nowadays those three languages are considered as three different languages. It wasn't always the situation. More than 30 years ago, there was a country in the Balkans called Yugoslavia. Both Serbia, Bosnia, and Croatia, together with few other countries, were part of Yugoslavia, and back then they had one language. That one language was called Serbo-Croatian, and it was one of the official languages in Yugoslavia, and since it was one country, nobody had a problem with having only one language. So people who remember those times still consider us to be speaking the same language. But in the Balkans, we love to complicate things and we like to fight with each other and complicate each other's lives. So back in the 90s, the horrible war lasting 4 years started and Yugoslavia broke apart. Together with Yugoslavia, people decided to break the language apart as well, because if we have a new country, we need new language or at least new name for the language. So back in the 90s, they divided the country and the languages. So right now there is Croatian language, there is Serbian language, Bosnian language, and Montenegrin. 4 languages, you would think, no, or yes, they are considered as 4 languages. Each country has right to call their language whatever they want, but we understand each other perfectly. I mean perfectly. Of course, there are some differences in vocabulary. There are certain words that they use in Serbia that they don't use in Croatia. They call certain, let's say, vegetables differently. But if you were born and grew up in the Balkans in this area, you definitely know all those differences and you're able to understand people from another country perfectly fine. Situation where Croatians and Serbs and Bosnians and people from Montenegro don't understand each other has not happened ever, in my opinion. When it comes to languages, of course, not politics, because in that we don't understand each other at all. But when it comes to languages, there are 4 languages officially, 4 different ones, but we understand each other perfectly. So I would never claim that I speak Croatian and Bosnian and Montenegrin and Serbian. I just say Serbian, but I understand everyone in this area perfectly fine and they understand me. Second most common question I get when I say that my native language is Serbian is whether we are able to understand Russian, Polish, Czech, and other Slavic languages without learning them. The answer is no, not really, not at all actually. Speaking Serbian is definitely going to give you a big advantage when it comes to learning other Slavic languages because of all the similarities there are. But without learning them, we do not understand each other. Serbian and Russian cannot understand each other if they don't learn each other's language. I couldn't understand what Czechs speak when I first moved there without speaking Czech. So no. There are some words, many words that are same. So when listening to spoken Russian or spoken Polish, for example, average Serbian who doesn't speak those languages will catch few words here and there, but that's definitely not enough to understand the language. Only Slavic languages that Serbians might understand without learning them are Macedonian and Bulgarian, which are South Slavic languages, and those are neighbor countries, so they're pretty similar. But even there, we won't be able to understand completely everything. I have struggles to understand everything Bulgarians say or Macedonians, but I understand them well enough to have a conversation. The same thing, that thing only happens with South Slavic languages, but other Slavic languages such as Russian, Czech, Polish, Slovak, Ukrainian, we can't understand without learning them. The coolest thing about Serbian, if you ask me, is that we use both Cyrillic, Azbuka, and Latin alphabet. Both of those are officially used in Serbian language, so you can write Serbian with both Latin and Cyrillic characters. And I don't know if there is any other language that has something like this. Please let me know if you know any other. Both Azbuka and alphabet in Serbian have 30 letters, so it's not that complicated. I have heard people saying how complicated it looks, but really it is not. And in schools, kids learn both. I remember when I was in school, we used to learn both Azbuka and alphabet. And 1 week we would use Azbuka or Cyrillics, and another week, next week, we would use Latin alphabet. I think that this is really great. First of all, it shows how interesting and special and rich our language is. And also, I think it's great for kids to learn both. It gives them big advantage when it comes to learning other languages later in life. I have to say though that I don't remember when was the last time I wrote something using Serbian Cyrillics. I don't know why is that, probably because I'm mostly writing on my phone or my notebook. I don't remember when I had a pen in my hand last time. So I'm using Latin all the time. But I can, if I wanted to use, if I was not lazy, I could also write Serbian in Cyrillic, which I really don't do. And I feel that most of the people nowadays are using Latin mostly because of the internet, and since all the communication is online, it's just more practical to use Latin alphabet. But all Serbians can write with both Latin and Cyrillic. And by the way, this is something that's not going on in other languages such as Croatian, Bosnian. They use only Latin alphabet. That's probably the biggest difference between these languages. Territory of the Balkans used to be invaded and ruled by many different countries, many different empires throughout our history. So logically, all those countries and all those empires have left some consequences either in culture, cuisine, many different fields, and most importantly, language. So Serbian is Slavic language, and of course most of our words and vocabulary is Slavic, of Slavic origin, but we were influenced by many other languages as well. For example, German, Hungarian, of course Latin. Nowadays you can see even the influence of English, as we are adapting some words from English that don't exist or we don't like using in our language. But most importantly, we have had huge influence from Ottoman Empire and Turkish language. So many words that we use every day in Serbian are actually of Turkish origin, and this is something that I always knew because I was always interested in languages. But a few years ago, Turkish soap operas started being very popular in the Balkans, so all housewives, grandmas, basically everyone started watching those Turkish soap operas, and they have noticed that we have a lot of same words. And I remember hearing people say, "Oh my God, look, those Turkish people use the same words as we do." And I was like, yes, they were in the Balkans for a few centuries. Of course you use same words. And this is funny because when you speak your native language, you usually, if you are not interested in linguistics, you don't think much about where those words came from. But then when you hear another language that uses the same words, you start thinking. So I guess that Serbian native speakers finally realized how many foreign words we are using on everyday basis, and they didn't know that before. Guys, that was it for today. Please let me know in the comments, were these informations useful and new for you, or you already know everything about Serbian? I hope that you learned at least something new, and let me also know, how does Serbian sound to you? I have posted a video of me speaking Serbian already, I think a few months ago. So let me know, how does it sound? Did you ever try learning Serbian? I probably not, but if you did, let me know how was your experience with Serbian. And thank you so much for watching. See you next week.